Google is no longer just a search engine. It is the fundamental operating system of the internet. It is the invisible architecture that routes your traffic, stores your data, and decides which information reaches your screen. We use Google as a verb, yet we rarely notice how deeply it has embedded itself into the world's digital nervous system. From the subsea cables that move data across oceans to the advertising auctions that happen in milliseconds, Google doesn't just host the internet, it owns the infrastructure that makes it function. To understand the scale of this empire, we have to go back to its origins as a simple gateway. The journey began in 1998 with the realization by Larry Page and Sergey Brin. The internet was too big to navigate without a map. Their breakthrough was PageRank, an algorithm that treated links as votes of confidence, while other search engines tried to be portals that kept you on their site. Google was a navigator. By becoming the most efficient gateway, it became the default starting point for human curiosity. Every time a user types a query, they provide Google with the most valuable asset in the digital age: intent. This massive influx of data allowed Google to build a suite of products: Gmail, Maps, and YouTube, ensuring a user never had to leave the ecosystem to live their digital life. As the company expanded its reach, it moved from being a simple choice to becoming the default foundation for our devices. The true genius of Google's control is that it is voluntary. We use its services because they are the best, but we stay because they are the pre-installed standard. Google spends billions of dollars annually to ensure it is the default search engine on every smartphone and browser. This creates a psychological moat, as most users never change their settings. This control is reinforced by a 360-degree view of the user. When you use Chrome, Android, or Gmail, you create a feedback loop that competitors cannot replicate, making the cost of leaving the ecosystem too high for the average person to consider. This total enclosure of the user experience eventually created the world's most powerful financial engine. Google is at its core an advertising company masquerading as a technology firm. They don't just sell ads, they own the entire supply chain. Google operates the ad stack, representing the buyer, the seller, and the exchange where the auction happens. This allows them to take a fee at every single stage of a transaction, creating a private tax on the digital economy. By 2025, this model had pushed their ad revenue to record-breaking levels because, for most businesses, appearing on Google is no longer optional, it is a requirement for survival. But the dominance isn't just digital, it is anchored in the physical world. Replacing Google is difficult because it has moved from being a product to being a habit. For billions of people, the cycle of curiosity and instant reward is locked into the Google search bar. Beyond habit, there is the infrastructure mode. Google owns a significant portion of the physical internet, including thousands of miles of subsea, fiber optic cables. This allows them to deliver results faster than anyone else. Even if a competitor built a better algorithm, they couldn't match Google's physical proximity to the user, making their speed a competitive weapon that is impossible to buy. Despite this physical and digital fortress, the empire now faces its greatest challenge yet. The threat to Google is not a better search engine, but the pressure of global regulation and the rise of artificial intelligence. Courts have begun to rule that Google's default agreements and ad tech dominance constitute illegal monopolies. At the same time, the rise of AI agent systems that search and shop on behalf of users threatens the traditional search ad model. Google is responding by embedding its own AI, Gemini, into every product. But this transition risks disrupting the very revenue stream that funds its dominance. Ultimately, Google's 30-year expansion has resulted in a form of power that is most effective when it is least noticed. By controlling the gateway, the infrastructure, and the money, they have made themselves indispensable. They won because they realized that the person who provides the map eventually decides where the travelers go. They don't need to shout for your attention. They simply need to be the ground you walk on. In the digital age, the most absolute control is the one that feels like convenience.